It was just the values that we were, kind of, I think, with every Pacific Island family. We were always taught to, look after each other, if they were hungry kind of thing, we'd support each other. It didn't matter, if we had one sandwich, we'd half it kind of thing. So it was always about sharing those values there.
Hi guys, so I'll just introduce myself. My name is Pati. I'm part of the life community that we have here for Soup Kitchen.
The volunteers, we start arriving from 4 p.m. So we decided to come as a family to Soup Kitchen because we wanted to teach our children the values of not just turning up to serve at Soup Kitchen, but also showing our kids how to be compassionate and to be walking in humility and serving people that are in great need. It's something that can't be taught in schools, but it starts off with, from home. If we can do that at home and then be able to do it out in the community, that's something that's more valuable to us, not only to Pati and myself, but to our children. And hopefully that will take on a ripple effect for the next generation.
I started doing some research, going into Stats New Zealand, reading up as much as I could to understand what unpaid work actually was. And when I started reading the definition of unpaid work and the things that fell under the category of unpaid work, like looking after a loved one, or checking on your neighbour, or volunteering at church, I thought those are things that we naturally do as Pasifika people because we are a collective community. In a Pasifika setting, you could have a family and one person might be allocated to stay home, to look after, say, the elders or childcare. In a family setting, the contribution that that person makes is immense because it allows everyone else within the home to be able to go and do work. So that's the grey area where, from a New Zealand Western perspective, they're unemployed, but from a family perspective, without their contribution, the rest of the family won't be able to do what they're doing. So they become almost like the glue that keeps the family together.
It is unpaid work, but it's not a burden to me because he's somebody who's been designed for me and my wife, and so we have to put him in a position to be successful. When Taylor comes home at 3:30, we do a exercise regime. That's it, Taylor. Keep on going. Just working on the cycle work and also various exercises that will work out his limbs and do a lot of functional and strengthening work. And then around 4:35 we do his speech therapy, and that involves a lot of practicing his vocal cords, getting them to actually sound out the alphabet, and also doing some counting. You count on your own now.
1,
Yep.
2,
Yep.
3.
We also address some of the issues around his behaviour. Normally, Monday we have family catch-up. It's almost like a team meeting.
To the Pasifika community, I think unpaid work is something that's quite foreign, the Western definition or the Western title unpaid work. Because when you associate the word work with anything, there's an assumption that you need to get paid for it. Unpaid work for me is more from a Pasifika understanding about service. It's about serving your community, serving your family. And so there's an understanding that by serving, it's reciprocal. Your children or grandchildren might be in a situation that's similar to the people that you're serving, and your hope is that other people might be able to serve them when they're in need. When you consider that the bulk of what Pacific people do in New Zealand, which is like low manual factory type work, workers clocking in and then clocking out, it's something that you do because it's about survival, whereas all of the things that fall under the category of unpaid work, like looking after a loved one, spending time with your elders or with someone who's sick, that's not work. That's something that it's ingrained in here. In our Pasifika communities, unpaid work, or the term unpaid work, can sometimes be seen as offensive. And the reason why I say that is because when you associate acts of service to work, there's an assumption that the person who's doing the work wants something in return, when in reality that's not necessarily the case. So I think that when we're measuring unpaid work, what we are getting is just surface level. I think that there are a lot of other people who do unpaid work not counted because of the fact that they may feel it, the term, quite offensive.
I think in our DNA it is the humility, and sometimes it sort of doesn't benefit us because we don't promote ourselves, and sometimes it does work against us in the job sense. When you're applying for work, you don't want to like say, I did this, I'm this person, and we're not so good at promoting who we are and what we've done. So, you know, if we've led a choir or led a bunch of volunteers to do outreach work, you know, community work, we don't say that enough. And that's probably the double-edged sword is when it comes to advancing ourselves in terms of a position.
Yeah, I wouldn't even consider calling it unpaid work, and it's been part of our culture for many, many generations. You know, being Samoan, we were taught when we were younger to serve our elders, and if we had guests come over, we would automatically get up and put on our lava-lavas, and we had to serve people with whatever we had in our cupboards. And so that's just naturally something that we do, and we continue to carry it on with our children.
I think New Zealand as a whole can learn a lot from our Pasifika communities about service and about redefining unpaid work, the importance of redefining unpaid work so that it's something that touches us here in our hearts. I am not an individual. I am an integral part of the cosmos. I share divinity with my ancestors, the land, the seas, and the skies. I am not an individual because I share an inheritance with my family, my village, and my nation. I belong to my family, and my family belongs to me. I belong to my village, and my village belongs to me. I belong to my nation, and my nation belongs to me. This is the essence of my sense of belonging.